To have a much more enjoyable episode than we had last week.
I mean,
There's fun stuff.
I was gonna say there's been less shootings, but I'm not sure if that's true or not. At this point, I'm just too afraid to ask.
Yeah.
No, I actually didn't open Audacity, so it wasn't completely ready.
You were almost there.
It's almost ready. I got a lot of other shit done.
You did. You did. You were almost set up for the show.
All right, testing.
All right. This is my audio test. Hey, adventurers. Welcome to the show. 1, 2, 3. Can we not? You're not part of the show. He's trying to be part of the show.
Wow, you were peaking really high on that.
Really?
Yeah, like you were turned way up or something.
Hmm.
I may just because I was pretty quiet, so,
Right.
but I don't see anything gotten changed.
What's up, my love?
I
Yeah.
opened the box of one. Well, I just opened up the nubbin so you can then peel off the tiny bit. I really just wanted to poke. So I mostly opened the wine. I did everything except for the actual opening. I poked the box and it ripped and I went, oh fuck, I'm gonna open it now. So I just wanted to see like how hard it was to rip it and it went right through. I was like, ah, fucking all right. And that's why we don't poke the wine. Leave a note. Don't poke the wine.
Leave a note.
We would have coasters if somebody hadn't. Oh, that's strong.
Yeah, yours, yours looks good, Sean. Here you go.
That's a little. It's a little bit of whiskey.
Coaster for me.
Testing the chat too.
Okay.
All right. Hey, it came up on Twitch and Mixer.
Excellent.
And now YouTube. Cool. Just delay.
Awesome. Good times.
All right. Okay, I'm going to record again. Just I haven't changed anything yet. Just,
All right. So, hey, this is my audio test. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we're both being loud now.
Okay,
It,
so-
it got moved.
Yeah.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, people. Man, Mixer, you guys are awesome. So, if you're unfamiliar with our channel, hey, we do a news show. We are a nerd news show. We are about to get rolling here in just a minute.
Yeah,
We were just
doing
doing
the
our
audio test.
Audio test. Hope we look okay for all of you out there listening.
It is really weird having lumbar support in this chair. Like, I straight up don't know how to sit in this chair correctly. I've been not having it for so long that it was like, what the fuck is wrong with my back?
Yeah. Man, this is really cool seeing all these people coming in from Mixer. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, we need to do a couple write-ups, because right now it's just like social media buttons, and I changed all the graphics a long time ago to our
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay. Cool.
So I need those two write-ups. Basically, a Twitterized like 180 characters or
Right.
240 characters, whatever that number is now.
Sure,
like
sure.
description of the show, and then like the list with all the links and
Okay.
all the hyperlinks and shit.
I can do that. Yeah, I can knock
And
that
the
out tomorrow.
big body part. So yeah, let me listen to this and.
We did? Weird. We're popping up on Xbox now, Tony. Apparently, we're popping up on Xbox now.
Oh, whenever we go live.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
fine.
entirely dependent on what your settings are.
Oh, okay.
Like I have mine tell me not that stuff.
Right.
Specifically, there's a setting that if you're watching any video,
Mm-hmm.
you can tell it to not do that shit because
It was like I walked away and it went to that like you walked away screen
yeah.
and there was a video of you guys.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I've
That's
just seen like
cool.
the alert of like this person is doing the thing.
Yeah.
No, this was like it was showing you guys down here.
Weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
Creepy. We're going to be on our friends, like, weird.
We're gonna be on our friends' Xbox homepages,
How cool.
but not on their PlayStations because PlayStation doesn't have its own streaming service.
All right. And we're definitely going to talk about that when it comes to the end.
We're still a little bit loud. Now that I put the headphone over here, I can tell if we're a little bit louder
Yeah.
now.
Yo, hey,
There we go.
we're about to get rocking and rolling.
Howdy. Just getting everything settled.
Yeah.
We're only 30, 20 minutes, 50 hours late, something like that. I don't know. I'm really tired. It's been a long fucking day.
All right, let's do it.
I got up at like 6:30 this morning. Dude, seriously?
Could we not?
Could you not drink my whiskey, please? Fucking cats. Rude. You rude little shit. Earlier he came over and like did the tickle thing right behind my knee. Fucking hate that shit. All right, let's go start this shit.
All right. It's time for the yearly console State of the Union. Adventurers,
I'm
gear
gonna
up
stop
for...
it. It's still too loud.
Okay.
I actually need to turn it
Are we coming off loud to y'all just so we... Any feedback from the audience? All right, Bubs, you're going to have to move. Cause
I seriously need to be exactly where you're at, dude. There you go, buddy.
Yeah, because we definitely look a little bit high on there.
Yeah, I'm doing it by like millimeters at a time, just because
Yeah.
I don't want to go too far.
Yeah.
And then, all right, let's try it again, and I can look at it and see if it's fine.
It's time for the yearly console State of the Union. Adventurers, gear up for an all-new episode.
I mean, it peaked out a little bit there, but that's our normal.
Okay.
And it's what we normally sound like.
Okay.
But yeah, that was
Better.
quite a bit higher than what it was supposed to be.
Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to the show. We are the Surly Nerd, your one-stop shop for geek news that might have flown under your radar over the last week. I'm your host, James, and sitting across from me is the producer of this fine show, Tony.
For a second, it was your cat was sitting across from you.
He was, very much so.
If you'd like to see that, go on twitch.tv/Nerd and watch us where you can see the cats.
Exactly. And if you're new to our show, hey, welcome. This week we'll be getting into our console State of the Union, which is kind of a how's everybody doing kind of discussion. But before that, we have all the news that's fit to rant about for your ears. Don't forget that you can keep connected with us through thesurnerd.com. You can follow us on all social media platforms and even donate to the show. Every penny donated goes right back into the show that we make for you every week. With all that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, adventurers of all ages, it's time for The Prelude.
Yeah, the kids need water. We need to get them water before too much. Like, I should go do that now.
All right, everything sounding good for y'all? All right, excellent. So, yeah, just as a kind of a heads up, what we're doing is we've got our main news segments like we normally do. Boss Room this week is we're going to go through the big three. So we're going to talk about Nintendo, we're going to talk about Sony, we're going to talk about Microsoft, kind of where they are, kind of where they're going, and kind of not. We do not want to play the who's winning game because that's just one of those things that consistently, like, whenever E3 pops up or something like that, they always go like, "Oh, well, who won E3?" And I don't really think it's about that. I think we should be looking kind of not necessarily sales numbers, but the kind of quality of content that each respective console is bringing in. Yes, we know that the numbers are definitely up for the Nintendo Switch. We have to briefly at least talk about that. So we'll be kind of going into that a little bit. But mostly it'll be kind of, let's talk about first-party titles. Let's talk about the tech that's being built out from each respective company and kind of where we see it kind of going to the future. We do this about once a year just to kind of check in with all the three major consoles. Maybe next year it'll be 4 with Stadia. We'll see how it goes. But, yep. But before that,
Yeah, I saw that the PlayStation Mini dropped down to like $20.
yeah,
And I thought about getting one.
just to mod it.
Yeah, just to mod it, but then I was like, I don't fucking care.
No,
I
but
can't fucking care about this.
But I do care about that Sega Genesis Mini.
Okay, so the Sega Genesis one I want because they're actual games I want to play on it.
Yes.
The PlayStation one, I don't give a fuck about.
I know.
I was like, oh, cool, a bunch of games I either played and have no interest in playing again, or a bunch of games I didn't play, and I have no interest in playing them because I didn't want to play
Yeah.
them to begin with.
All right, let's do it.
That and it's a fucking bad emulator with way overpriced. $20 seems about right.
Right.
Like if it was straight up
paying
just
for-
$20,
You're basically
sure.
just paying for a Raspberry Pi at that point.
Yeah, but I don't have to program it.
Yeah.
I can literally just drag and drop files on this one. It's way fucking easier than a
That's true.
Raspberry. Prelude.
All right, this is the Prelude. This is what we've been doing with ourselves this week, what we've been playing, what we've been watching, and what's been occupying our free time. Tony, what have you been doing this week?
Watched a couple movies, watched a show. The third season of Glow is out on Netflix.
Yeah.
I loved it. I love the first two seasons.
Did you watch the documentary on Netflix about the origin of Glow and all
Yes,
that?
I watched that whenever they put that out. Actually, I can't remember if it was like after the first season, but before the second one.
Yeah.
I think that's where it was in there. I don't know. I watched it like twice.
Yeah, it's
And
very
I watched,
fantastic.
I watched the show a couple times, but the new season did come out, and I just, as soon as I saw that it was on, I was like, and I know what I'm doing for the next until this is over, which is exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Other than that, I watched a couple movies. just the two that I can remember off the top of my head was the I watched the live action version of Aladdin.
Okay, how was that?
Not as awful as I thought it was going to be.
Okay, I can respect that.
The Will Smith is the genie. Stupid blue CGI genie is stupid blue CGI genie. It's fucking awful and doesn't need to be there. The rest of the time he's interesting. The changes to the songs is fun. Just because you get to hear, it's the different interpretation of it. Same songs.
Right.
With the exception that Jasmine has 2 songs now.
Oh, cool.
That feel very out of place because they don't follow the same musical tone as the rest of the movie.
That sucks.
They tried their best,
Right.
but it just doesn't quite fit.
Right.
You're like, if they had the original composers come back in and everybody work on it to make those, I don't know, but it just
Yeah,
seems like
I
they
mean,
didn't.
to be perfectly honest, if I went to go watch a production of like Phantom of the Opera and they were like, now with 2 bonus songs that were just thrown in, I'd be like, I don't know if you can do
well,
that.
that's Andrew Lloyd Webber, so I mean, I'm pretty sure he would just add random ass extra
Sure,
songs.
but if it
because-
was not him, you
Yeah.
know, it would seem very out of place, basically.
Yeah,
for
no,
it.
and it does. I like that we've expanded her storyline. And watching the movie, I was actually thought it would be more interesting if they did a version of Aladdin, but just calling
Is she a little less like Rescue the Princess-y in it?
Yes, that's
Nice.
actually her more plot line is like why I'm trapped here. I want to be she wants to be the
Right.
sultan, but she can't because that's not the way tradition works or
Sure.
some shit. And then maybe get the idea is like why did they make Jasmine instead of Aladdin? Like I get it, they're doing this whole like let's just do the Disney Renaissance
yeah.
live action version, which has been going not good at all so far.
has not been
I
doing-
think The Lion King had some good reviews. I don't know. I
It's
kind of
going
refuse to
pretty
watch
well,
it.
yeah.
I'll watch it like I did this one at home when I'm bored with nothing else to do.
Yeah.
But I thought maybe if they had done Jasmine, that song wouldn't have felt out of place,
Mm-hmm.
and we would have gotten more of her story. And think about how interesting the story of Aladdin is from an outside perspective. It's fucking crazy. Like it doesn't make any sense, and I think it would be way more enjoyable to see her side of that story.
Right.
We just have this fucking bumbling guy.
She's
and-
also like in the middle of a power struggle.
yeah. Well,
Like
that-
that's a key component of the story. It's like being a princess in the middle of this power struggle
Yeah.
that you basically don't have any power in. Like you could do some
Well,
cool
that's
things.
the
with that.
thing is the new movie changes a bit of that about how her taking back power and all.
That's
that.
cool. I dig that.
That's fun. I also watched Brightburn.
Bit excited for that. That was James Gunn's superhero horror movie.
Yes, it is very much the story of Superman.
Yes.
If he decided to kill everyone as a child.
I don't think he's denied that. He's
No,
basically been
it's
like, that's what
it's
this
straight
is.
up the origin of Superman. If he decided to kill everybody,
Right.
Well, not necessarily decided. It seems like he was programmed to be that way by an alien species that gave away a bunch. Like, okay, the plot. You're not getting there. You're not in it for that plot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge spoiler. But you're in it for what the actual story is, not
So-
the glowing alien
So,
machine.
I think my bigger question, instead of the story for Brightburn, is it's supposed to be a superhero horror movie. Do you feel like it delivers on those particular aspects?
Yes, you definitely get. Well, not necessarily superhero, superpowered person.
A
'Cause-
superpowered person horror story.
Yeah,
yes.
superpowered person horror story. Yes, because nobody has superpowers in this world, as far as we can tell.
Right.
That this kid has, literally came from the sky, starts getting just into that prepubescent stage, and can now fly and do shit and laser beams and all that.
Right.
And then murder, lots and lots of
Lots of murder.
Because,
but specifically,
like you do.
I wanted to know if it makes for a good horror film.
It's I wouldn't call it a horror film. It has the elements of horror, but
Right.
it goes beyond the 2 genres that it would be stuck into.
Okay, that's cool.
Like I akin it more to it's less horror than Cabin in the Woods, but it's more akin to Cabin in the Woods.
Got
Dude,
it.
cat, quit trying to drink my whiskey.
All right. So is that everything that you did this week?
I mean, I did other things. Destiny's doing its annual event, so I've
Yeah.
been like grinding
We're
out
gonna segment.
Solstice Armor. I've been learning how to edit videos in a new video editing program. Like I've been doing other shit, but I don't think people really care about that. So
Let's see here. Oh, I've got quite a list. I'm going to try and knock it out really, really fast, though. This week was me finishing a lot of stuff, so I did a lot of finishing this week. Take that as you will. I finished iZombie, which was just excellent. It was fun. It's still the same. It was the same
All right,
show.
is
by
this the
end.
final season, or is there still
That's
more?
it. This is the end of iZombie. Like that's
Okay,
it.
then now I might actually go back
Yeah.
and watch it
And
because
it honestly doesn't spend too much time of its own ass with the plot because it really you know the show is just about people eating brains and doing weird things while they eat brains.
Yeah.
And so it retains that. And in fact, by the end of the season, I believe the writer's formula for that show was simply, what's the funniest situation that we can put the main characters in and give them a brain that would allow them to do it.
Well, like
essentially.
my personal opinion on that show was that it jumped the shark whenever they decided to do the zombie energy drink party thing.
So
and-
literally
and-
the first episode.
No, not that party.
Okay.
The giant one at the energy drinks office that turned hundreds of people into zombies, and then like the next season, everybody knows about them. They live in their own little,
Oh, yeah.
little like section of town.
It becomes very dystopian after a while because all
And
of Seattle
I
gets
just couldn't
shut down.
fucking do that. I was like, oh my god, this was so much more interesting when people were when you're trying to hide the zombie plague, when you're working around it and subverting it. That was interesting.
It's Resident Evil syndrome. Like, how many Resident Evils can you make before people know that there's fucking zombies?
Well, it's also just power creep. I mean, think
Yeah.
about it. Like, it's all right. So this guy's our big bad. How do we make another bigger bad that's better than the last week's one?
But it only has 5 seasons, and I feel that it goes on a very good note and is very respectful to all of the actors and everything in it. It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
Orange the New Black, got to wrap that up. Excellent show. Man, managed to have a lot more feelings than I thought I was going to have watching that final season.
Yeah, a lot of people weren't too happy with where the characters went, and I think that might be because they expected everybody to have a happy ending.
Yeah, and they're not supposed to.
No,
It's not the way
in
that
fact,
goes.
I think more people got a happy ending than what they deserve.
Yeah, I think more people got a happy ending in Oz than got a happy ending in this. But so I got to finish Orange is the New Black. That was excellent. Finished Doom, 2016 Doom. Finally got around to doing that. That was a lot of fun.
I was actually thinking about the movies. Like, you watched the movie Doom?
Oh, well, like,
I watched that a couple of years ago again, but yeah.
like once a year I watch that.
the movie's fucking awful.
And then I went and
love it.
started the remake of Wolfenstein.
Okay.
And typically when I was playing Doom, like I would actually just like have my tablet up and like be watching something on Netflix while I played. With Wolfenstein, I've been kind of so engrossed in the plot that I haven't even thought to do that.
Yeah. Doom's plot is more. It's more like it's a first-person shooter that has puzzle elements.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like find the way out of this room, and you're like, cool, I got to jump up all this shit and platform my way over there. Whereas Wolfenstein,
It has a
actual
story.
world with story.
Yeah, like
Doom is kill demon things for a reason.
I mean, it's still kill Nazis. Don't get me wrong. Wolfenstein 100% still kill Nazis. Like
I
there's
mean,
a scene.
you can never not have Wolfenstein and kill Nazis.
Like there's a scene in the very opening where you are like on the back of a truck and there's a grandpa with a shotgun in the front seat and he's like, "Go kill all the Nazis." That's literally what he says. So I'm loving Wolfenstein, a lot of fun. But let's stop talking about old stuff for a second. I want to talk about new stuff, and that's where I'll wrap my prelude up. For those of you always asking for comic book recommendations, I do have one for you this week. Go to your local comic book store, pick up a copy of Donny Cates' Absolute Carnage #1. It is a $8 price tag for a comic, which is pretty hefty.
it's like double the cost of most
But
comics.
it is basically like 3 comics. Again, it's a 3 like act book in this one. And for those of you who haven't been following Donny Cates' run on Venom and the other stuff that he's been doing, what Cates has done is something that nobody's done before, and that's tell the origin story of where the symbiotes come from. That's something he's been building towards for like the last 3 years, as he's slowly been working towards their origin story and like what planet they come from and shit like that.
That's gonna be so weird that like he knew he had this plan and he had to start like seeding it into all the stories he could work on, but they would only let him work on weird shit, so he had to find a way to start putting it in there.
Dude, he works
and
on-
also
he works
not
on-
get fired before he could actually tell that story.
Yeah, like this has been a whole thing for him, and so like it is now coming down to this big. It's a crossover event, but really you only have to read the main book in the series if you want to. But it's Absolute Carnage. It is Cassidy come back to be Carnage. The symbiotes have all kind of gone a little insane, especially since the shared knowledge that they have. It's something that weird that they go into is like how the symbiotes share knowledge and how that actually all relates to essentially like the origin planet where they come from, where you can essentially like build out a supercomputer from like all these pieces of symbiote that exist.
Sorry, this is just reminding me like a whole hell of a lot of Deep Space Nine. And I'm pretty sure he just ripped this off entirely from the shapeshifters from Deep Space Nine.
Okay, I don't know. I'm not familiar with it.
Donny Cates,
but
did you just rip this off from Deep Space Nine? Because if so, cool, good on you.
But I mean, the first issue, it's very grounded. Even all the stuff that I've been talking about is very cosmic focused and all these weird things going on. The story itself is very grounded. It's very much about Eddie Brock. The symbiote finds Eddie Brock again and is like, shit's about to go down.
Do you mean Cassidy?
No.
Oh,
Eddie Brock.
okay.
Eddie Brock is the main character in this.
In the Carnage story. See,
Right.
that's the thing I was confused. Is like you're talking about Eddie Brock, but that's not.
Right, right. And the story is about, much like the original Carnage story was a Spider-Man story, that
Okay.
Carnage was the big thing. That's what Absolute Carnage is. Eddie Brock and his son, who doesn't know he's his son. That's a whole other thing.
That's a Marvel plot line thing.
That's a Marvel plotline thing. Or like kind of on the run because they're being hunted by multiple symbiotes at this point, but the primary one being Cassidy. And to the point where he has to, like, Brock has to show up at like Peter Parker's house and is like, I need help. I'm sorry. I fucking hate you.
The angry red
He's
one's
like,
back.
He's like, I fucking hate you, but Cassidy's back and we have to fucking do something about this. And the intro storyline, just so you know, is that Cassidy's apparently been hunting down people who have worn a symbiote at some point and is eating their spinal cords.
For a treat.
It does have an in-lore explanation.
I'd like to think that it doesn't.
But the repercussions that this story has is, if you look at the history of Marvel Comics since Venom was introduced and how many people have actually worn a symbiote of some kind, that means there's going to be a body count.
Yeah.
Like, he went after Norman Osborn in the first issue. Didn't get him yet because, like, Venom saved him and really hated himself for that, but he did. So, like, I believe the first major casualty just hit that is a major Marvel figure, and they were pretty sure, like, that.
I mean, this is definitely one way to get rid of those characters and also get rid of those symbiotes from coming back and being like, oh, cool, we're going to deal with more of that annoying
Yeah,
storyline.
remember when we had all those symbiotes? A lot of them are probably going to show up in this particular series.
But then they're going to die.
Right, it's gonna be
so
a-
it's perfectly fine.
Yeah. So, anyways, Donny Cates, Absolute Carnage. If you loved Maximum Carnage back in the day, it's really a love letter to that. It's very over the top. It's very absurd. But it just really embraces kind of the madness of Cassidy and makes you just really want more of it. So that's everything that I have for the Prelude this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into our news segment in the Weekly Raid.
Let me save this real quick. $3.22.
Okay.
The Weekly Raid.
Hey, Adventurers, welcome back to the show. This is the Weekly Raid. It is our news roundup for the week. So normally, I like to start the Weekly Raid with some happy news because we tend to deteriorate very quickly into bad things. This week, I need to do it a little bit different simply because of the heavy nature of the episode that we had last week. So our first news item that we're going to be talking about was something that happened this last weekend where ESPN was going to be airing an Apex Legends tournament, but decided to go ahead and pull that tournament due to the shootings that had happened in Texas and Ohio. So the reason I kind of wanted to mention that, because it's past news and the fact that they just aren't doing it.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting point of debate, I think, that we need to think about going forward, because we have two things here that kind of go against each other. One of them being that I would like to believe that all the listeners of this show believe that, video games do not cause violence. But at the same time, we want to have respect for what happened that weekend.
As a tragic event,
Yes.
it happened. But the stopping of the
I feel like the stopping of a tournament like this is sending the wrong message.
it's just completely, as we discussed last week, incredibly misplaced.
Yes.
It's like, cool. None of these things, that's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something just as ridiculous, being like, okay, well, we're just not going to sell Go-Gurt that day either.
Right.
Why? Because of a shoot that had nothing to do with it.
Right.
But we're not doing that.
Right.
It makes no sense.
And so it really, I am of two minds about this when I put this in the news, because I was like, I understand the reason that they did it, but at the same time, I do feel that it is sending the wrong message, because if we are going to be standing behind this idea that video games do not cause violent behavior, that by canceling a Apex Legends tournament, we're saying the exact opposite of that.
So ESPN is very new into the esports stuff.
Right.
And they are a subsidiary of Disney. They've got a lot of backlash that they have to be family friendly.
Right.
Honestly, I today watched like 5 minutes of the stone skipping championship that they had on fucking ESPN 8. I'm not fucking making this up. And it made me want to, smash someone's skull in. So I think maybe ESPN causes violence, because at this point, why are you showing stone skipping, which honestly, show more stone skipping, please. Just get rid of baseball and football and everything else, and bring back just curling and stone skipping and Overwatch League.
Now
Like,
this,
let's just do that, ESPN.
this event had already happened. The tournament itself had already happened. They were just going to be airing it so that people could get more exposure to esports.
it's similar how they've done this with Overwatch League.
Right, and so they're actually going to be rescheduling it for the beginning of October to show this. They're still going to be showing the event and showing all the big Apex Legends tournament, but just as it stands right now, they felt that it was they just needed to remove it.
I mean, this is the tournament where the top winner won like $3.8 million.
No, you're thinking about Fortnite. That's a
I
different.
thought that was the Apex Legend one.
No, it was a Fortnite tournament. that was
Okay.
doing that.
Okay. My bad. It was one of those games I don't care about.
Yeah. So there's just a lot to unpack here. I don't want to sit too long on it. I know this is a very complicated issue. I understand both sides of it. So it's just something to keep in mind and formulate your own opinions about. Let us know what you think about. Send us an email over at info@thesurlynerd.com. Let us know what you think about this. But we need to move on. Let's move on to some lighter news. We know that Venom 2 is actually happening. That is a confirmed movie that will be getting made. And the news gets even crazier than just the fact that Venom 2 is happening, which is weird, but that Andy Serkis is going to be directing this movie and that Tom Hardy helped write it.
Yep. I'm just on board at this point. Like,
It's going to be so weird.
I get it. Sony they have to keep doing something with these things, otherwise they lose their rights to it, right? So they've got to do something with Venom and all the other villains and all the ridiculous plot shit. So this is where everything kind of just goes to live, and I'm happy with that. Because like, if you watch the first Venom, and I know you and I did, I don't know if all of our listeners did, it's a roller coaster ride of fucking idiot, just dumb. It's not a good movie by any plot or acting standard.
It would have been a great 90s movie.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a movie that would have existed within the Sam Raimi universe.
Yes, absolutely.
Unfortunately, we've had 2 different Spider-Mans since then,
Yeah.
and 10 years worth of fucking Marvel movies to
ridiculous.
literally change the face of how we make superhero movies.
Mm-hmm.
And Venom, the first one, didn't hold up to the standard that it should
No,
have
but it
been.
made that international Skrilla is what it did.
It was ridiculously fun for all the wrong reasons.
Right.
And even if we just get more of the same with Venom 2, go right ahead.
If Andy Serkis is directing, and by the way, if you don't know him as an actor, you've probably very rarely seen him on screen when he's not in makeup or being CGI.
You see him, partly with CGI'd stuff in the Marvel movies because he plays...
Claw?
Yeah.
Ulysses Claw. Yeah, he was in that.
Yeah, he was up until the point of... was it Endgame?
Yeah, that's
he
true.
was still running around killing
true.
people.
That is
So
true.
he's been in a lot of the Marvel movies.
Yeah, but most notably, he does a lot of CGI work and all that good stuff. He was really big in Planet of the Apes, obviously.
Oh, dude, like that's the thing that still pisses me off. If you go back and watch any of the Planet of the Apes movies, and he's in all of them, he deserves an award. He deserves
Oh,
an
yeah.
Academy Award for like Best Actor, but they refuse to acknowledge it because it's a CGI character.
Yeah.
Okay, so give us Best CGI character then, because holy fuck did he deserve an Academy Award for that shit.
Yeah. All right, let's keep this fun news train rolling. Last week we were talking about all the craziness that is Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is the CW big crossover event where all their TV shows will be crossing over. Of course, we have a bunch of big name things that were thrown out. Of course, Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman in the 90s, is going to be coming back to play Bruce Wayne, old Bruce Wayne. We have Burt Ward, the original Robin from the 60s series, is going to be showing up. We have a ton of these cameos that are going to be coming in during this. The big announcement this week was that Smallville's Lex Luthor is going to be making an appearance in this.
Really? Because the last time I'd seen a tweet or message or something from him from was it Michael Rosenbaum?
Yeah, making yep.
Yeah, that he said like I have not been contacted, I'm not involved in this, and I guess apparently in the like 2 days ago when I read that something changed.
Yeah, they're saying that that's what they're planning on right now. We don't know if we're going to be seeing any of the other characters from that universe, but it's entirely possible.
I'm
The
expecting Tom to be showing
First
up
off, the
as Superman.
CW has already done a Smallville homage at one point during last year's crossover. It was
Yeah.
a very brief thing.
They literally played the opening song to Smallville and went to the actual barn from Smallville
Right.
and did the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I laughed out loud, and I just had like a memory of how the fact I'd watched every single episode of Smallville.
I did too.
Because it was it was one of my Buffy replacements.
Yeah.
And it was not near as good as Buffy.
It was not. It started strong. It did not end very well, though.
It went places.
It went places.
I swear that they were like, because every time I watched Smallville, it would be like previously on Smallville, and they would show a bunch of scenes, and I was like, okay, none of those were on any of those episodes I just watched.
But here's the thing about Smallville. If you think about the series in terms of its existence on a parallel timeline with the CW DC shows, it's very, very similar in the sense that when Arrow started and when Smallville started, they had a very, very strict rules on them by DC of what they could put in there. They're like, you can have Arrow, you can have Deathstroke, but can't have Suicide Squad. Like, and they make DC would make these rules, and that's what Smallville had. The problem was Smallville got so popular, DC was just like, fuck it, stick anything in there, and they were like, oh, we can stick anything in there. Let's bring in the Justice League. Let's bring in Doomsday, and it got like, really ridiculous.
But there were self-imposed rules as well. Like he's not allowed to fly.
Sure.
But they show him flying so many times, but technically it's every time they get around, it's like, it's not actually Clark flying, it's his dad inside his body or some stupid fucking plot line.
Right. And so, but the CW shows are very much kind of in that same vein where Arrow was very restricted at first, and then we got more shows and more shows and more shows. And now DC's kind of like, I don't know, you're doing Crisis on Infinite Earths. Fuck it. Just put whatever the fuck you want in there. Like, there's rumors right now that Mark Hamill might show up to play the Joker. All right? That is a rumor, but it's saying that...
Mark Hamill's already been in the Arrowverse, which ties it into the Flash television show that was on ABC, which was a spin-off of New Adventures of Lois and Clark.
Right.
So, which all comes back to maybe all of them get to show up. Like, if Terry Hatcher shows up as Lois Lane, like, what the fuck are we gonna happen? What are we gonna do then?
I don't know what to expect from this crossover at this point because they just keep announcing things, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you only have 5 episodes to put this whole thing in. Like, you're casting like literally everybody from every DC thing ever, putting it. Like,
anybody who's not actively making a DC movie could be in this.
I'm fully expecting Nathan Fillion to show up as Green Lantern at some point.
That honestly, if they did that, it would win all the nerds' hearts.
Because he voices Green Lantern.
He does, and he said multiple times that he wants to be Green Lantern.
Mm-hmm.
Or what if they have Nathan Fillion as Green Lantern, but also Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern?
Do it,
because
at this point, I don't know. The CW is just throwing money at this special, and it's absolutely insane.
I don't think the special has Ryan Reynolds money though. Like, I really don't.
Ryan Reynolds will show up for a taco, dude.
Honestly, if I was Ryan Reynolds and I saw everybody else talking about this right now, he'd be like, I was Green Lantern. I'm showing up. I live in Canada, motherfuckers. I'm just showing up. Right. And I'm going to be in there. I don't care.
Yeah, just buy the man a coffee.
You're going to put me in a costume. I'm literally just going to show up and be like, hey, what's up? Green Lantern. Cool, let's go do a thing.
He probably has like a spare ring laying around. And he's like, yeah, I'll just show up.
We can go to a comic store and buy a ring for like $25. We're good. I'll float that one for them, okay?
Just to get a minute. That would be fantastic. But yeah, this CW crossover series is going to be absolutely just bonkers, and I'm so excited about it.
Can it just happen? Like, every bit of information...
You gotta wait till December.
Every bit of information about this makes me go, like, is it fucking December yet? Because I really like Halloween, and I don't want to skip that.
Right.
But, like, I don't want to have to wait this many months till there's something I'm just like incredibly waiting to see.
This is a very DC heavy news week, actually. There was an interview with the Chief Creative Officer, Jim Lee, one of the heads of DC.
Amazing artist.
Amazing. Oh, man. Literally defined the X-Men in the 90s.
I still go back and his Batman work is one of the things I watch the most of on YouTube because that's like most things he shows is how to draw Batman. And he does these quick sketches and you're just like, that is literally a work of art. And he's like, yeah, no, that took like 5 minutes. Yeah. Here, I'll show you how to do it. And you're like, no, my hands don't do that.
Right.
Your hands do that. Mine make stick figures and poop.
There you go. So there was a big interview with Jim Lee this week. He broke down a lot of the positives and negatives of things going on kind of in the world of comics right now, specifically for DC. Said that digital comic sales have been really plateauing, and it's been very kind of disheartening around the company. Mm-hmm. They're trying to kind of figure out why that is. Obviously, DC's comic book sales are doing very, very well, but just nobody seems to be catching on to the idea of buying digitally yet.
I mean, I've kind of got an idea why, and I think that's because the digital reading of comics is even nerdier than comic books, I would have to say. And there's not just an app that's built into your phone. You have to go out and search out for Comixology or the DC app or whatever thing that's in there. Yeah, Apple has some comic books in their bookstore, but they're not very good about.
And
they're very censorious.
Let's think very closely
whatever the fuck
about
word.
the format of comic books.
They don't really lead very well to phones.
The current format of comic books is lent towards a page turning experience,
and then those double pages where it's this beautiful, amazing, giant picture.
Right, and it doesn't always work out that well when you're looking at it on a tablet. So I can see that being a problem why people aren't investing as much digitally, or they're buying these kind of all-in-one packages like the DC Universe, where they could just get they get whatever DC will give them to read, but not necessarily buying the issue to issue, right?
Yeah. Overall, I would like to see more people reading digital comic books, but much like the way I feel that digital video game distribution needs to have a cut in price, the comic books need to have a cut in price. Yeah, the subscription model where they get out whatever DC puts out is great if you want more of a Netflix curated version of comic books. But if you want any comic book that's in your store that week for whatever, but I'm not physically buying it and all I'm doing is just basically getting the digital license for it, it really shouldn't cost as much as a comic book. But we're still stating that this is nitpicking about comic books, which don't cost a lot to begin with.
That's true.
Whenever you were talking about the Carnage book, that was what, $8?
Yeah.
For
Basically
that much
3 issues.
artwork and writing and it being sent here from a printer and all that shit. The artwork alone is worth $8. The artwork's fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, Ryan Stegman's art for that is Carnage.
But this is for comic books in general.
Oh yeah.
When everybody's like, yeah, it cost me like $2.25. I don't want to pay that much for a comic book, because we're still thinking as comic books are for children and don't have the meaning that they should have. But look at what movies have dominated for this how long. Look at what stories are winning these awards.
Yeah.
It's comic books.
Sure.
I think that we culturally need to understand that a raise in price of comic books physically would be good for the industry, but keep the digital versions where they are right now. So if it's $2.99, digital version stays $2.99, physical one goes up to $3.99. I'm okay with paying more for the level of artwork and storytelling that we have currently going on. If things go down, that's different.
But I think there is an argument to be made that, I would sign up for 5 comic books a month at 99 cents or $1.99 that I wouldn't go to the store and pay $3.99, $4.99, $5.99 for, because maybe they're comics that I like, but that's an extra $6 or $7 that you could be paying.
Yeah, no, I would happily buy more digitally if they did come in at a lower rate. But weirdly, I'm actually asking to pay more in the store because I feel that the product is worth more.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely see that. And that might be an avenue that maybe a lot of comic book publishers haven't considered, is that, maybe
every time they do a price hike at all, even if it's 25 cents, somebody loses their fucking mind about it.
Yeah, that's true. He was also kind of asked about the DC Unlimited app and how that's going to really factor in with the new HBO Max app that's about to be launched. That's, of course, going to be the Warner Time Media new streaming service. We know that Doom Patrol and Titans are going to be shown on that, I believe.
They are. It's just, to me, this is like at least for the HBO one, is the stupidest thing. It's like, remember that HBO subscription you have?
Yeah.
Now you have to pay more to get crap you don't want.
Yeah.
And watch everybody go, no, we're cool with just buying HBO. We do not want the rest of this. Please stop making this stuff.
You're literally just making a cable package that's streaming.
Yeah, you all right, so this is
we have that. It's called Hulu.
We complained for years before the invention of like online streaming that you couldn't get a television package of just the channels you wanted.
Right.
I'm never going to watch this stuff. Why am I paying for it? With HBO as a subscription, like, cool, I finally got the one thing I wanted. I just wanted HBO.
Right.
But now I've got to deal with all this extra baggage bullshit. And it's stupid. I'm sorry, DC, that fucking TV show thing that you created, yes, fucking Doom Patrol was good. Everything else is fucking awful.
Well, they've got a long way to go on that, but basically he danced around the issue. He didn't say, because there's been a big question that's going on right now, was with HBO Max launching and them kind of being the subsidiary of that. What happens to DC Unlimited? Does DC Unlimited get canceled? Does it get mushed
Honestly,
into?
it should cancel it.
Like, what happens at that point with it? And we don't have those answers, and we won't know because there's boards of directors trying to figure that shit out right now. So just take that for what it is.
Everybody wants to be Netflix, but no one wants to invest in it as much as Netflix does because they're still currently losing money because of all the shit that they are purchasing to put out.
Yeah. Now, it hasn't been all bad news for DC, obviously. Last year, DC Comics actually launched a line of 100-page giant comic book issues that were sold exclusively at Walmart stores.
Yeah.
We talked about this a couple times.
Yeah, we thought it was an interesting idea.
Yeah, and it was a mix of new stories and old stories. They weren't printed on like very expensive paper. They were meant for, kids that go to Walmart and maybe saw a CW show or saw a movie and said, "Oh, that's Superman or that's Batman." Instead of having to ask, "Where do I start?" These are curated
just
books
things.
for that. And so what we're hearing right now is not only are those comics doing really well at Walmart, but also they're going to be adapting what they're calling television properties and movie properties into these books. So you may see some new original content that are in the, say, Supergirl universe or the Flash.
We might get some of the Arrow. I'll just call it the Arrowverse.
Yeah, or the Arrowverse, or
We might
maybe
get some of those things in
right,
there.
or
So
something.
we know those comic books already exist.
Right.
They just haven't been in a collection like this.
Right, and so this is a smart move. This is an absolutely smart move.
With
by
how
DC.
popular these shows are, we just went on for how long about how much we're looking forward to this ridiculous crossover
Right.
in this universe. I think that putting those comic books in cheaper paper on shelves combined together, just as if you like the shows, here's an overview of what's happened in the comic books while you weren't reading them. I actually forgot that those existed because I was thinking recently about doing like some artwork stuff. I was like, well, I need to go to the comic book store and get a bunch of really cheap, like 25-cent dollar bin comics so I can cut them up and do a thing. I was like, wait, forgot about these. I can get the superheroes I want for way cheaper because the paper's what I care. I want the shitty bad paper. I don't want good quality paper because that's gonna fuck up the art idea.
Yeah.
So I'm like, God, okay. So if they do some of the Arrowverse stuff, this makes it even better. I like this. I don't want just Superman. I want everybody else too.
And this is just absolutely the smartest move that DC could be making. It's
Yeah,
such a minor.
I love it.
It's such a minor move, but to say like, hey, by the way, those other shows that your kid's probably watching, we're gonna make comic books based on those.
Yeah.
Let's go. Put them out in Walmart. Fucking do it. More kids reading comics, please. I know that we were just talking about DC Unlimited and how we don't want any more streaming services, Tony. But we would be remiss if we didn't mention Disney Plus.
Yeah, we've touched on Disney Plus before. Like we talked about when it first said like Disney's going to do a streaming service. And we're like, cool, because that makes sense. Netflix is losing their Netflix Disney contracts up. They're no longer going to be putting new Marvel/Disney stuff and even Lucas stuff onto Netflix.
And we were talking. You had just said that nobody wants to invest in their streaming service the way that Netflix does.
Yeah.
Except for fucking Disney.
Well, Disney has. I don't know. They've spent so much money. I'm not sure how they still have any left.
We know right now we're looking at like $6.99 per month for just Disney Plus. And then there's additional packages where you can buy ESPN with it and Hulu with it. And basically the total of those three things, let's call them channels together, is about the cost of Netflix.
Yeah, it was like $12, $13.
For all of that.
Yeah.
But we found out this week the Disney Plus service, if anybody was wondering, I don't know if I want to get this yet. It may take them a while to say get those Marvel shows. It's going to launch with over 300 movies and 7,000 TV episodes.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that is Disney's back catalog.
Right. Well, it also is acquisitions.
Yes.
We got to think
There's
about
that as well.
We got. I mean, The Simpsons alone is
that's
all the things.
That's their 7,000
That's
episodes.
the 7,000 episodes.
It's just The Simpsons.
But they still have their original content coming up, like The Mandalorian, which is like Jon Favreau,
Mm-hmm.
I think, directing that. And this is not a.
Like these 7 different Marvel TV shows that are going to be on there.
This is the first time in years that I've mentioned an upcoming streaming service and been like, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, in general, we've been very like, well, it really comes down to what do you have on there. And
at some point, it's just like, stop making streaming services.
Whenever it came down to this San Diego Comic-Con, whenever they said, by the way, these are the shows that will be coming out, not necessarily day one, but like the first couple years to Disney Plus.
They're basically their phase one.
Yeah, phase 1 shows. Just this is like, fuck, that is a really good lineup. I've
You're
actually
going to tell
been,
me my buy-in for this is like $6.99?
yeah, no, I've been excited about this for a while. I've been recently getting really into Disney stuff, and I saw how some like the remodeled hotels they always have the new big screen TVs or whatever in there, but they have they have their own operating system essentially that has their own streaming service built into the TVs. and I got to see like what shows and what movies they put in there.
Interesting.
And it is Disney stuff. So you can see it's like, here's a bunch of Disney movies and something for adults, and here's some cartoon, like
So really for
series.
years
And
they've already had
yeah,
it,
it's
but-
like, wait a second, they've actually been developing this internally for their hotels, something smaller
Right.
for quite a while. They just have to add more stuff too. It's like, this is they know what they're doing. Like this
Right.
is something they've been working on.
It's not just like somebody, not like Time Warner randomly going, we should
Yeah.
do a streaming service.
Yeah, this isn't.
Time Warner is that fucking cat meme of the cat sitting in the fucking chair with the newspaper. And it's like, oh, I should start a streaming service. That's what Time Warner is.
Yeah.
Whereas Disney's like, no, we're past that. We've already done this.
Yeah, no, and that's what whenever I saw the footage of that screen, I was like, oh, that's what they're doing already. I was like, and I looked at the time, I was like, this was from like 2 years ago. I was like, oh shit, they've really been ahead of the game on this shit.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really looking forward to what Disney has to offer, and that's just because
Their current
I get the Marvel
plans-
stuff. I also get access to all those fucking Disney movies.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. We were in high school and they released the Disney Vault.
Right.
And
that was a big deal for people that are as old as us.
yeah, but we didn't buy those movies then.
Right.
We didn't buy them on VHS or DVD, and we've literally never been able to. So there are movies that we don't really have access to because we didn't buy them whenever they came out for that small